the shadows, crumbled in the meadows. You can't just sit around and sigh. You can't just turn around and hide. Call out to the sky, question and ask why. Look around and taste for yourself. Forget about your hate, try to fight for someone else. You've got to put it on the line. Now is the time, don't shrink back till the night. Stand up and do what's right. You can't just sit alone and sigh. You can't just turn around and hide. Put out to the sky, question and ask why. Moving on, because we don't know who's next to become. Let the wood set us free, because if it's not gonna be you, then it's gonna be me. You can't just sit around and sigh. You can't just turn around and hide. Call out to the sky, question and ask why. Don't let society keep you from the light, because beneath it all, we're all of the same kind. So, we've got to stay bright.
So in verse 1, we talk about invisible identity, which is that blacks are valued less than whites in the society. And we talked about invisibility because nowadays blacks' voices matter less and they're getting unequal treatment. Like their rights are ignored. And so this is the unequal treatment that we talked about of blacks versus whites. And also in verse 1, we also talk about the question of who am I and who are you. So it's the idea of that you see yourself differently than the way that society sees you. So in the lyrics there are lyrics like dragging in the shadow and crumpling the middles, which also indicates the idea that blacks are trying to find value in the society, and verse 1 is the summarization of like how black people are trying to look for its value.
So in the chorus we talk about speaking out and not remaining silent, which is the main part of the whole book as a whole. So one of the lines says you can't just sit around and sigh. And on page 59 in Citizen it talks about how sighing is giving up. It's like shrugging your shoulders into the corner and just giving up. And then there's the moan that they said was hilarious and funny, and like that's the two different ones. And since we're talking about speaking out and not remaining silent, you don't want to sigh into the corner, and that's what we wanted to use in this line. So then call out to the sky. On page 90 it talks about how the narrator of a section was talking about how they call out to the sky, and we talked about in class about how the sky was the brother of the narrator, and that is kind of calling out to comfort. So like it's hard to speak out, so we wanted to talk about that, and having comfort, which is the sky in that sense, is really important. Then question and ask why. The book really, the narrator, she really asks us a lot of questions. Like she's like, you, why is it like this? Who are you? All of those things ask a lot of questions. So we wanted to say question and ask why to reference that part of the book. So verse 2 is about fighting back. So verse 1 talks about invisibility, and it kind of like is all the internal emotions, and verse 2 is about going out and acting on those emotions. So this part was really inspired by Serena Williams and Zinedine Zidane, and because they fought back. They didn't sigh in the corner. They went and actually did something about the way they were feeling. So there's a part in our song where we say, don't shrink back into the night, stand up and do what's right. And that kind of mirrors the idea that Ziddine Zidani said in the book. And he said, I resolve to fight, and suiting in my action to the resolution. And that kind of mirrors this idea because he didn't want to have to fight. It wasn't what he wanted to do, but he realized that he couldn't just take all those people yelling those names at him, and he decided that he needed to go out, fight back, and that's what this verse is really about.
So the bridge talks about how to moving on and also talks about the removal of the labels. So the bridge is the transition from the problem addressed in verse 1 and verse 2 to the final call at the end of a song. So the lyrics, because we don't know who's next to be gone, correspond to the story in the book that blacks are shot by police, are misshot by the police, and it is also the theme of losing brothers and neighbors because of racism and racist acts. And the last two lyrics in the bridge talks about calls people to actually do something to fight for the injustice, just like the author who takes it upon herself to actually write a book about this injustice. So the bridge in general calls people to actually step out and put in some effort. So the ending highlights the main theme of the song, which is staying positive and fighting for equal rights. So the words "the light" and "stay right" corresponds to the idea, well, not corresponds, but contrast idea of staying in the dark, which was talked about in the verse 1. And then also bright, it's also word play, which it's also about making wise decisions and being smart. And in general, the ending is just to sublime the main idea of the song.